or
Yeah.
whatever, and then all of a sudden there's the old guy, and he's like, "Papa, is
Papa.
that you, Papa?" And then he just goes, "Well, he says whatever. Sometimes they come around," and then he's like, "Ah, I thought you were somebody else or whatever." And then he walks away. I'm like, "What was that? What did that have to do with anything?" There was no reference to his dad before. Does it supposed to look like his dad? Was it his dad? They don't explain it at all. He just walks past him and they never mention it again. With your best friends Trey Sterling and Matt, the film Schmucks.
Give me 1 second.
Oh man.
Hey,
Can't
thanks for
help it,
joining
man.
us, guys. This week it was the Cray Train's pick, the Cray Trey me. Yeah, I'm talking in third person, whatever. Oh boy, man, I thought I knew myself. At first, I gotta pull out a shtick that we all, it's an inside joke maybe, but I like to apologize to everybody. All right, I like to apologize. I saw it's kind of rare to watch a movie 15 years or 20 years after you watched it originally. We watched What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams. Brilliant comedian, brilliant actor, and my goodness, has it not aged well? So I'm gonna leave it to whoever. Sterling, Matt, take over. Tell me what
Okay.
you thought, because I do, like I said, unlike a confidant of mine on this channel here, the sprain maker, the ankle maker, the poo man himself, Sterling, he does not apologize for his picks this week. I apologize for a pick that I wish I could take back. Sterling, go ahead.
Uh, I think I can say with great confidence that this movie was just okay. I think it was kind of mediocre overall. I think it's a case of the main actor being better than the movie itself. And I think Robin Williams did a great job. I think most of the actors did a pretty good job, like the main ones, Cuba Gooding Jr. and then his wife. Um, but overall, there were some things that were definitely outdated, some editing choices, um, and then there was some. I mean, obviously, it's kind of a weird movie. I didn't know what to expect really because I never saw any trailers for it, and I really don't remember, anything about it. So I didn't know that it was basically like the Odyssey, essentially, or like a Pilgrim's Progress type journey. But there's some interesting questions that the movie asks that definitely piqued my interest. And there's some good emotional moments with Robin Williams for sure. One in particular that I thought was great. And I think it does add to the fact that he killed himself in real life. That kind of added a lot to the emotion of this movie, looking back at it now. And so, yeah, overall, though, it's just an okay movie. Kind of mediocre.
Matt?
I mean, I think I agree. It's interesting because I I might be less generous with some of the things Sterling said, but I might be more generous in other areas. I think that the acting was like, well, here's the thing. The notes I have on this movie are all over the place because let's just say it straight up because I think this will get us right into the conversation. This is a really bizarre movie. Like, it's really weird. And I first heard of this movie literally probably a couple months ago. I think it might have even been Trey, but someone mentioned this movie to me and like, yeah, there's a movie where Robin Williams goes to heaven, and I'm like, what? I never heard of that. What is this? And I honestly, that's all I knew. I didn't even watch a trailer for this before we watched it. And so I was expecting, I know that especially in the 90s, like the late 90s was when Robin Williams was doing more of his serious movie shtick. But I kind of thought this movie would be a lot more kind of a funny, I thought it was going to be more of like my imagination was that it was going to be kind of a Hitchhiker's Guide sort of thing where he's going to heaven, but it's in a funny way. And it's, I thought it was going to be maybe like a dramedy or something. And I did not expect it to be so artsy and so like, I mean, and I don't mean artsy literally the movie is about art, but like it really feels very art, like an artsy, some liberal art school student made it. I don't mean that necessarily as a bad thing, but I'm just saying the style of it is very, like, I don't know. It's kind of a pretentious movie in some ways. But I mean, we can get into it. I think I kind of agree. It wasn't bad. Like it reeled me in more by the end. There were certain things that came together by the end that I liked a little more. But yeah, I mean, the acting. Can we get into the acting? Because it was real hit and miss for me. I mean, I think it's the writing.
For sure.
I don't even know if it's the acting per se. I think the writing was really bad sometimes. And Christy said it, but was making this point, which I think is a good point. It's based on a book. And I think this is her words, not mine, but that they probably were trying to adapt these really great lines from the book. But then in the movie, it just came out like, who would say that? Or why would someone talk that way? And it came off really weird. And anyway, I don't want to hog the whole thing, but there's a lot of. Let's just open it up there.
Well, I mean, I like last week with Bob Ross, we went from a water-based paint, and then this week's an oil-based paint. I thought that was, I was like, that's kind of funny.
There was a weird
that
connection, yeah.
So, yeah, the acting. There were some parts where Cuban was a little overacting. Robin was perfect. I mean, there's not much he can do wrong. I mean, I love the guy. R.I.P. Rest in peace. But yeah, I mean, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, Shirley.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think there was a couple things that I noticed, especially when he was blurry. He did some like weird dancing moves. Did you guys see
ballet
that?
for a second? Yeah. And they never explained.
Yeah, that was.
They never explained that. And let's just be look. I don't want to get into nitpicks right off the bat. So sorry. Keep going, Sterling.
No, I think. Yeah, I mean, when I said I liked the acting overall, I was talking kind of more Robin
and the wife
and
is pretty good.
And the wife,
yeah.
But the kids are kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
I do think Max von Sydow is pretty good overall. I think he can do no wrong.
He's the tracker, right?
Yes.
Dude, I was watching this because he plays Father Merrin in The Exorcist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, technically this could be part of the same universe. I like to imagine that Father Merrin died and then he became this badass figure in the afterlife who like guides people because he had the same glasses. So I just want people to say I think what dreams may come and The Exorcist take place in the same universe. I'm just gonna say it right now.
Well, that's funny. I mean, what you were saying earlier, I thought I had this in my mind was this movie could be amazing today. They were trying a lot of like different things and walking through paint. Like kind of sometimes didn't look too good. The Cuba looking all in like half like blurry, plus the writing. I think you get a better director nowadays, better writers. You could make this movie a masterpiece. Honestly,
I agree.
Like,
it's got the right elements, and to me, it's funny because we were talking about the acting. I don't think it's good based on which actor, right? I don't think it's like, well, Robin's good, but this character's bad. I think it's based on what scene. It's really weird, but like, you can't tell me that the scene where Robin and the son are talking in the rain by a tree, that's not good, that's not bad. It's bad. It's like a bad scene. It looks like, it feels like an after school special when he's talking to the son by the thing. The dialogue's really bad. The acting's bad. I think it's because they did bad ADR work. That's why I think it's actually mostly bad.
Oh, yeah, the very last part where he yells, but it's not him.
Yeah, it's really weird. And that's the biggest gripe for me. I think the editing is dated because they did so much like the slow-mo where it's bad slow-mo. Yeah. They did too much. Yeah. There were so many scenes that were the pacing was so weird. Like when Cuba Gooding Jr. and Robin Williams are arguing, like he's like, no one's ever come back from suicide or whatever. And he's like, take me to it, damn it. That was fine. It was a good fight, but then they'd be fighting and it's like a good momentum. And then all of a sudden it would just be like a weird pause or one of them would look in slow motion and then it would go back to them fighting. And I'm like, I think, sir, on what you were saying, Trey, I think if it was a different director and all of that, I think you're right. It could be a masterpiece, but beyond that, I think if you just took the original footage and had someone re-edit it and make another cut of this movie, it could actually be way better.
Oh yeah, because
I
you're
think
right.
the editing was one of the worst parts about it.
I hope that guy lost. I hope he was. I hope he's some in Vermont, in a cabin by himself till the end of the day.
I hope his kids die in a car crash and his wife commits suicide. I mean, come on.
Come on. That guy was bad. That editing, the cuts. I mean, hooey.
This movie was actually pretty divisive back then. Looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's like 54%.
Yeah, but that's new though. That's not back then. They didn't have Rotten Tomatoes in 1998, right?
No, but they used reviews. They used reviews back then in the album.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah.
But how do they? Doesn't someone who writes that writes the review for Rotten Tomato, don't they choose whether it was a thumbs up or a thumbs down? How did they decide whether it was a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Oh, let's not get into the Rotten Tomatoes thing.
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
please.
Well, whatever. It's stupid. I will say this: I was surprised because when I pulled the movie up, it won an Oscar, and I was surprised that it had a 55%.
For what?
It won an Oscar. It was nominated for 7 Oscars, and it won one for visual effects.
Oh, well, yeah.
And I have to say, I'll say this.
Yeah.
The cinematography in this movie is really good. The editing sometimes would mess it up, but the what I imagine it was nominated for, which was the effects, which were really cutting edge and interesting at the time, where he's in the painting.
Yeah,
it is really cool.
Yep.
It just is cool. It doesn't look like anything I've seen in a movie, and so I have to give it props for that. Even from 20 years ago, it just looks different than any visual effects you've seen.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, today's technology could change it all. I mean, you got something, Sterling?
Well, the architecture is really cool whenever they get to the house where the wife is at, like where the suicide people are. It kind of reminded me of like Mines of Moria from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Just the structure of it. It's pretty cool.
So the other night when I was gonna watch it, Amanda was like, "Hey, I want to watch something romantic." I'm like, "Hey, I gotta watch this movie," because she loves Robin Williams, and she's like, "Oh yeah." I said, and I told her what it was, and I'm like, I wrote it down because it was how I remembered the movie, so it was a little different.
Yeah.
But I said, What's more romantic than a man who searches through hell for his wife who committed suicide? Like,
it is.
She just looked at me and shake her head. She shook her head. She didn't take it.
The truth is that I actually think that's why I think the ending of the movie, despite its flaws, there's a lot of flaws here and there. The core of it, the relationship between Robin and his wife, is good, and it does get you emotional. And like I said, some of the scenes are hit and miss, but I think all of the scenes with Robin and his wife are good. Like pretty much all of the scenes with them. And like when he has the plane ticket and he comes to her in the institution and stuff, that's some of the most, like, to me, that was some of the more like emotional moments. And then of course the ending in the house, like. Those were what was really good about it. I think that relationship and the fact he's like, I'm gonna fight through hell for her, is romantic, and I think it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't conveyed the best sometimes.
The kids are helping him along the way.
Yeah.
Like,
which that was nice, but it was weird the fact that each one of them, or the 2 kids were a different race.
Yeah, I want to get
into diversity, baby. It's all about diversity.
I want to get into that later, but is it technically blackface for that kid to be Cuba Gooding? We'll get into it later.
Oh no! I was just gonna say, it was kind of weird that the girl would choose that particular Asian plane attendant to be in that world. It was more believable for the son to be Albert, because at least he knew he had heard about him, and there was someone that actually influenced Robin Williams' character's life. So,
it's crazy that he ends up meeting Albert too. Like the old guy it was actually Albert. It was kind of like a coincidence. I'm not sure. It was like an eye rolling coincidence. Oh, so Albert is here along to help him. Kind of weird.
Yeah. It was.
Well, I disagree. I think that the Albert thing was dumb, and that the flight attendant thing made more sense because she's this little girl, and she's on a flight with Robin Williams, right? Because they explain it. Robin Williams and her
Yeah.
on a flight. He talks about, man, Asian people are real elegant, and political correctness and all that aside, he's like, they're very classy, great women. So as a little girl, she hears this from her father. So when she pictures the type of woman she wants to be, she's looking at this flight attendant because he said these nice things. It makes sense that that's the image that a little girl had, was tied to this.
I'm on your side. I agree.
The Albert thing,
I like that.
the only thing I didn't like about it was because Christy said it real early on. She's like, that's going to be the son, isn't it? And I was like, no, it can't be because he said he's the 60-year-old man. They explained it. And she's like, yeah, but they're really implying it. And I was like, nah, that'd be stupid. Why would they do that? They already said it's the old man. And then later it's just like, psych, I am the son.
Did you just go like this?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I felt like an idiot because I was like, I kept telling her, I'm like, no, hey, that's bad take. Nope. They already explained it earlier in the movie. So to me, it was like this weird cheap thing where they were trying to keep you the lead. They were trying to bury the lead or whatever, where like you just didn't. But it's like, come on, you can't be like, it is the son, but he was just pretending to be the old guy. And it's like, it was fine. It was fine, but
I'll throw you a nitpick because I agree. But when he realizes realizes it's his son, it didn't make sense, and the editing was bad. Was bad.
I got a nitpick about that exact scene, my friend.
How did he put that together? Was he doing the flashbacks in his mind while was it showing us what he was seeing?
Yeah, there's like hell going on, and he's just sitting there going.
And they're in the rain again.
Yeah.
And...
Well, I got a nitpick so I don't forget it, but that scene. There's a lot of weird things there, right? Like, weirdly enough, I actually liked it when they were in hell better than heaven in a way, because to me, I was just more gripped with what was going on at the moment. But that scene, they walk up. For some reason, all of a sudden, Greek mythology comes into play because he just goes, Cerberus, the protector. You're like, okay, all of a sudden, you're going to mention Okay, fine. I guess this... And we'll get to it later, but I think that's the biggest flaw in this movie is it's so vague that there's no rules at all. But whenever Cuba Gooding is like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to save her. And then Robin Williams goes, no. And there's all these people with knives and swords and guns and stuff pointing at him. And then Robin Williams goes and hugs him. And then just in the background, all the people with weapons just go. Yeah, all of a sudden they don't care anymore. What about those people? Were they not trying to kill him or not?
That's why I didn't like that. The hell, because the extras, all the stuff that looked bad. Like, I think because they were pushing the boundaries with technology, with the artsy fartsy crap. I mean, I actually liked it, even though it didn't look good today. Like, it didn't age that well. The makeup stuff. I'm like, that looked. It looked bad to me.
It did in some sense. The reason I liked it, and I don't know if it was meant to be or not, is it really looked like makeup from like the 1930s or 40s, and it looked like Carnival of Souls or something. I don't know if it was supposed to be some homage to those types of movies, or if it just was bad. But to me, I kind of liked it.
You got me.
Well, look, here's what it is. I think it was trying to look like a lot of this stuff was like theater and like painting and stuff. I think that something about the makeup, maybe I'm defending it too much, but I think they were trying to make it look like a theater, like a production play or something. The way the makeup was, it was like theater makeup where it accentuates the right stuff. But I legitimately thought it was cool when all the souls are in the water and they tip over the boat. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that was fine. I was that part where they're trying to go like on the land and the Cerberus, whatever.
It looked bad.
That
was the thing. And Christy pointed this out too. In heaven, the backgrounds and the green screen and the visual effects looked pretty good. Surprisingly, they held up okay. But in hell, when they were in the hellish landscape, the backgrounds did not look as good. It looked a lot worse as far as the practical sets that they built were cool. Like when they're in the boat and they're going through that weird library where they meet the tracker, that was cool. You know, that kind of stuff was, like Sterling said, the house and stuff at the end. But as far as like just the background green screen stuff looked pretty bad in hell. I don't know if it's because of the lighting or what.
What a shit movie.
Well, no. Yeah, it was not as good as well, yeah, like I said earlier, I apologize for my pick. I wish I would have picked Prisoners or Hamlet, like I originally told you guys about. Um, but yeah, it's not like it just didn't age well. You know,
Yeah.
they were trying to push the boundary with technology. It was the mid '90s, and you said it earlier, and I did think this in the movie because I love this movie. When because I forgot he died. I knew she committed suicide. I thought she committed suicide because the kids died. I didn't know she committed suicide because he died too. So I forgot that part. But when they show him as a doctor, my first thought was like, this is the sequel to Patch Adams.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is his future because his girlfriend dies in Patch Adams,
Oh,
but this is him
okay.
with a family.
We might have to do
Have
Patch
you-
Adams sometimes. I've actually never seen it.
Ooh,
Yeah, never seen it.
that's a good one, a good thinker.
Okay.
But yeah, we should do that. But yeah, this one I'm like, this is have you seen it before? Have any of you, Patch Adams? Oh my God, why would you brought up Patch Adams? It's hilarious. Anyway,
I
it
knew
just
about Patch Adams. I didn't know about this movie. So
but yeah, I think they're made within 2 or 3 years of each other,
Yeah.
and I really thought like this could be a sequel. Like it could literally, like you were saying about the Exorcism. I'm like, this really could be in the same universe. Just like 10
Okay.
years later, he met his wife, had kids, and then all shit went through hell to hell. You know, literally.
yeah. The What Dreams May Come universe. Yeah, I think we can keep expanding it.
Oh my gosh, Sterling, is there anything else that in this movie that stood out to you? I mean, other than obviously the aura, the light of shining amazing genius of Robin Williams, was there anything else to you that was salvageable? Let's just put it lightly. Was there anything salvageable? Anything you actually liked in this movie other than Robin?
I mean, I like a good soundtrack, and I think the soundtrack was pretty good overall. Like the actual score.
Pretty good, yeah.
And I think, especially, I don't know. I mean, the great scenes again are when Robin goes to her when she's in rehab, and he has the plane ticket, and he says that great line of like, "I didn't join you. I left you alone in your depression and your darkness." And so it makes sense why he ultimately chooses to be with her when he feels like it's not going to change anything really. It's just going to be eternal damnation. And so I thought that was really, really touching for sure. So yeah, and the ending overall, it's a happy ending, and it was kind of sweet to see kind of the reincarnation happen. Although it was a little weird, but it was kind of sweet.
So, yeah, you want my sandwich? And there's bites out of them, and then the next scene, like second later, they're full again. They're still in heaven, baby.
Oh.
It's the Inception scene.
Oh wait, really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she walks over with the sandwiches,
I didn't.
and then they cut, and it's bitten into. They cut again. They're full again.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it's Inception. Maybe it's like a trick, an Easter egg.
I still hope he's in Vermont. That stupid editor.
No, I think.
I think,
I was just gonna say.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it would have been better if they did like another version of themselves as adults, as opposed to kids. But I like the idea of them seeing each other again.
I think it is sweet. I think you're right. I just think they could have ended it in heaven. We can do whatever we want here. I don't like this fucking pretentious movie thing where they have to do some dramatic thing at the end with the kids smiling at each other. Because it reminded me of, have you guys seen Being John Malkovich?
Not yet. I want to.
Oh shit, we might pick that sometime. There's a thing. It's not spoiling anything because it's a weird movie, but it has a similar kind of ending where like it's a very similar thing where you're like, was that necessary? Good. But it was sweet. Fine.
What got me at the ending? I had to rewind it twice because I thought maybe I didn't hear it right. The little Robin Williams' voice for like 3 words. I'm like, what the hell? I looked around in an empty apartment. Like, what just happened? And I rewound it a couple times.
Wait, what?
It was because at the very end, when it cuts the credits, he says what he says at the very beginning of the movie. It's a very lost kind of ending, I guess, because the beginning he's in the boat. This is where I met my wife or whatever. He says the same thing he said in the beginning at the end. I met my wife at a lake. And I thought it
yeah.
was so out of place.
Okay,
It
yeah.
was so out of
A little
place.
weird.
I had to rewind it.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that, to be honest with you. So I guess that says that.
Sterling, when you swallow your food there, did you notice that too? The Robin Williams voiceover with what he said in the beginning of the movie. Yeah,
I guess
Jeez.
so. I can't really remember, to be honest.
We're almost done.
well,
We're almost done here, and you couldn't wait 7
now
more minutes to eat your
we're
pizza.
not almost done. We're not almost done. We have barely scratched the surface because I have some deep things to get into. Because first of all, I want to say this. A couple things I want to say here. That point you're talking about where he said the same thing as he did at the same thing as the beginning. This movie tried to do that a lot, and I think it was once again hit and miss. This is why this movie is so mediocre. For once, I agree with Rotten Tomatoes 55% because I'm right down in the middle. You know what I mean? And because the thing is, there was a lot of times where stuff would be happening in the afterlife, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. What the fuck is Double D Day? What the fuck are they doing? What are the paintings?
Yeah.
What's going on? And then it would explain it in the movie. And sometimes you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That was a cool way to do it. Then there's times where they do callbacks to phrases, or the phrases would manifest in the afterlife, and it didn't work. I think for me, there are times where it did. I think when he's in the sea of faces and she says, sometimes I feel like I'm lost in the sea of faces. And then he like sees her. I was like, I thought that was one of the times where it worked okay. And maybe that was because the editing was pretty good on that part. Although, see, this is my main gripe. And tell me what you guys think about this on this movie. I think that movies
Pizza down, Sterling. God damn! I'm sorry, Matt.
He hasn't
sorry.
eaten. He hasn't eaten.
I'm not making noises.
The pizza was the size of the. It was. Oh God.
Okay.
What were you
Pizza
saying,
aside.
Matt?
No, I was gonna say that these types of movies where they go into the afterlife or there's ghosts or things like that, they have a tool on their side, right? Which is that it's supposed to be a whole other dimension or a whole other place. You're not supposed to understand it fully. It's supposed to be beyond your understanding, right? But this movie uses that as such a crutch too many times because it's way too vague on what the rules of heaven and hell are. You don't, and here's the thing, it's fine if we don't know, it's vague, it's heaven, you can do whatever you want, whatever. But there's just times where they don't really explain and it's just random. And then I think they're trying to play it as profound. Anytime you don't, it's like, wow, I guess this is just heaven and hell. We just don't understand it. Like when here's an instance of a scene that I think was vague for no reason, was he's walking and all those faces, which I thought was kind of a cool thing, but it's all the heads or whatever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden there's the old guy and he's like, Papa, is that you, Papa? And then he just goes, well, he says, whatever. Sometimes they come around. And then he's like, I thought you were somebody else or whatever. And then he walks away. I'm like, what was that? What did that have to do with anything? There was no reference to his dad before. Is it supposed to look like his dad? Was it his dad? They don't explain it at all. He just walks past him and they never mention it again. And I think it was supposed to be some profound moment in the movie. And that's what the thing was. I was like, you can't just be vague and you can't explain everything away by just saying, well, it's the afterlife. Papa Smurf's head is in the ground. It's all right.
I'm probably wrong about this, but I would not be shocked if that was like an improv line from Robin Williams. I don't know. It just feels like it'd be something he would say. Like Papa.
Well, this movie would have random moments that were really pretty funny. Like there were just times where all of a sudden Robin Williams would just say something like a funny line. But the funniest moment to me was that Sea of Faces scene. I don't know if this is because me and Christy had the subtitles on, but we both busted up laughing because it was so serious and so dark, and you see all these faces, and you're like, ooh, that's creepy. And I wrote it down. There, you literally hear a voice, and it sounds like this. This is how the voice sounds. It goes, all the sea of faces are there, and there you hear all this groaning, and then you just hear a voice go, it hasn't been a really great day. Go back and watch it. And it was in the subtitles, and me and Christy bolted up laughing because it was so unexpected. And it sounded like such a funny voice. I was like, this feels like a Monty Python movie all of a sudden. Because it seems like something you'd see in that. It hasn't been a really good day. So funny. But yeah, I don't like the vagueness of heaven and hell. They're like, they just don't. Like, so let's get theoretical. We like to get theoretical on Film Schmucks. We like to not only nitpick with our brains, but we like to nitpick with our mind and our heart also. So I wanna say this. Theoretically, in heaven, he Cuba Gooding Jr. He's like, how come I can't see you? You're all blurry and nude. He's like, you'll see me when you need to see me, you know? And then he keeps saying, like, you'll understand when you need to understand, you know, and all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Yoda kind of shit. And then here's the thing. He kept saying, this is heaven. It's whatever you imagine, your mind. You know, everyone has their own private places. So riddle me this. Why doesn't Robin Williams just make himself imagine that he forgets that his wife and children are in hell or whatever, and then imagine a new wife and children there with him and just go to their house and hang out? Like, are they real? Are they not real? Is everything in his head? Is everyone connected? Like, what can he just imagine whatever he wants?
Okay, they did that in The Matrix, okay? You can't do it in this movie.
It was funny though whenever he sees like the young hot version of his wife, and the whole time he's like, I can't, this is water, I can't swim in it, I can't do that. And Cuba Gooding Jr. is like, you just have to believe it's your mind. The one time he doesn't question it at the beginning, he just sees his hot wife over there and he's just like, I'm getting poon, and he just jumps off that cliff. Like, he's like, I'm going for it now. And then he starts Naruto running at one point.
Yes. Yes. I was gonna mention that.
I think they should someone needs to make a meme of that, of like him running like Naruto to get poon. Was
Dude.
So cool.
You make a gif of that easy, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. It would be funny.
Oh my god.
That was around the time Naruto came out as a manga too, which is kind of funny.
I wonder maybe Naruto was inspired by this movie.
Maybe, I don't know.
Jesus. Oh my god.
At least in Naruto, they explain the jutsus a lot better than they do in Heaven and Hell in this movie.
I'll attempt it. I'll go with you on this. I'll say this. I think because his kid, who was Cuba Jr., the actor, I think because like they say, he had a job. He went to do his job. He's been there for a while. He knows the landscape. He knows the rule. Well, there aren't any rules, like you said. But when he says that to Robin, to Christopher, whatever the character, I think because he's fresh. He's fresh to the spot, to the surroundings. He's not thinking. He's just sad. He wants to know where his kids are. He wants to know why his wife is in purgatory or whatever. You know, I mean, I think it was just because of that in the movie. That's why the writing was the way it was for that. But that's a good point. I get you. I get where you came from on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a nitpick, but it's just a big thing to me where I don't even know how they could have fixed it. I don't think they necessarily needed to take it in a real practical way where they're like, well, here's the rules of heaven. You this, and that, and then this and that. But there were just times where it felt like they were playing up the you don't understand anything kind of thing, like just to try to make it seem more profound than it really was. Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, I think what didn't work in heaven as it being unexplainable, it had some of the same problems in hell, but in hell it came off creepier. Like when you don't know what's going on, it felt like he was in a nightmare, and it did give me a kind of eerie feeling. Like a lot of the stuff, even when he was talking to his wife, like, and she doesn't know who he is and stuff, and it's real vague. It's like there is something creepy there where it feels like a nightmare. And yeah, it was.
Well, I'll just say this: it definitely was a lot darker than I thought it'd be. Like I thought it'd be a lot more jovial and lighter, and maybe with some drama mixed in. But I mean, okay, I'll say this: within the first 5 minutes, I knew that this movie was going to be super dark because the first 5 minutes is so happy. And like everything is going so well.
Yeah.
But I think it's the soundtrack. The soundtrack kind of gave it away for me because the soundtrack felt like, yeah, everything's happy, but underlying all of it is just this eerie sense of doom that's about to happen.
Yeah. The movie has the soundtrack and everything has such a dread feeling to it. Like it's like it makes you it helps you like have an existential crisis while you're watching the movie. I love it.
Well, they really do it because it's still near the beginning when he's waving to his kids goodbye when they're going to school. That's when they start. The music starts to kind of ramp up to a more emotional music, and then it's. I thought it was like a real quick shot, like turn to the dark when it's at the funeral, the ceremony. It's the coffins are right there. It's like, oh Christ! Like, I forgot.
Yeah. That's the last time I saw my
from him waving
kids.
goodbye.
Yeah, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
live. Yeah.
I was like, this ain't no, this ain't no flubber.
Yeah, it was kind of it
Even
was kind of
Goodwill
weird.
Hunting was more upbeat than this. Jesus.
And
Yeah.
Dead Poet Society too.
I haven't seen that either, and Christy demands that we watch it. I bet you if we watch that, she'll do a review.
If she's seen it, I don't know why she's picking it because I think it's way overrated. But that's another conversation.
What?
I like that.
Anyway.
Have her on next week. We'll debate.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of the better scenes of the movie, in my opinion, was definitely at the funeral. It was kind of later on in the movie whenever Robin does the speech for his son.
Speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great speech. I thought it was written very well, and it was very emotional. Him thinking about him being like a 26-year-old and having his own kids. And
Yeah.
he sells it very well.
I just thought of this. This part, I thought of this during it. I'm like, what? This son of a gun, this son of a bitch. He's just sitting there ranting about his teenage boy. He's just talking about his boy. And now I just thought of it. His daughter's probably a ghost standing like, bitch, what about me? I didn't say one word about the daughter at all.
Yeah.
All about the kid and son.
Well,
I was
maybe,
like, this asshole.
maybe he did, and we just didn't see that part. I had a thought about that part too. That speech. It was such a good speech that I was like, you know how people at weddings, best man, they'll get certain stuff online. They steal. We've been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm a lot lately. I thought it would be a hilarious plot. I thought it'd be funny to write this into a script or something where a character steals the speech from this movie to say at their kid's funeral. And then, because I could imagine Larry David having to speak at a funeral and he just steals, and people are like, that sounds familiar. You know what I mean? Nah, I made it up. And then it'd be like a whole plot where someone's like, is that from What Dreams May Come, the 1998 Robin Williams movie? I don't know. I've never seen that because it was so good. It seems like something someone would steal and say at a funeral. Oh.
I thought it was a little creepy though. He was getting in such detail. I was like, wrap it up, man. Like, come on.
He'll have the type of penis that men are envious of and women love. Like he just keeps getting in more detail. His ass will be perfectly waxed at all times of the year.
He's not a husband that will only go once a week.
He'll eat his wife out not only on Thanksgiving, but Christmas and Valentine's Day as well. All right, I took it one too far. I'm sorry. Easter.
All right, final thought.
We're off the rails.
We're off the rails. Okay.
Final thought.
Sterling, what do you think about that? Do you like his speech?
Wait, what?
Oh.
I mean, I guess it got kind of long-winded, but I don't know. I felt like it was pretty sweet. That's all.
And what do you think about him skipping over his young daughter?
That's just an editing choice.
It's the 90s that no one cared about women back then. That's okay.
I mean, who does?
It's true.
But
us, they still don't.
Hey.
I don't like you guys keep trying to wrap this episode up when I have half a page of nitpicks to get to. All right.
Go. I would just rattle them. I'm so ready for this.
I mean, we've barely been recording, and you guys have been trying to wrap this episode up since minute 10.
I haven't. I was making a joke. Sterling's over there eating a whole extra large pizza. Start eating, Sterling.
This is a nitpick. This is a movie nitpick. This is not necessarily a What Dreams May Come nitpick.
Okay.
Have you guys noticed in movies sometimes where the opening credits are going on? First of all, the opening credits of this movie felt like 20 minutes long. But anyway, Like, it literally shows him and the wife meeting and all of this stuff. It shows the whole crisis in the hospital. He's talking to the little girl, and it keeps showing, like, credits. But anyway.
At least something's happening. There's some movies, they're 6, 7, 8 minutes of nothing.
And it's just music. Black and music. And, I agree. I agree. But here's the weird thing. This is a nitpick, and it's not necessarily bad in this movie. It happens a lot. They're on the sales. The title comes up. It shows Robin Williams on his boat. And it says Robin Williams. And then it shows the girl on her boat, and it says Cuba Gooding Jr. Because they always put the billing, but it's like either put the name next to the person or just do the billing, but don't make it, because otherwise it looks, some movies do that where it shows the name of the person next to the person in the movie, but you can't make it line it up like it's showing the people. It's like Robin Williams and then Cuba Gooding Jr. and it's just some like woman smiling, and like that happens in movies a lot. I just wanted to point that out.
Good one.
This is actually where did I put? This is one of the biggest nitpicks. It's on par with the thing I was saying about the weird head in the ground. Whenever she's writing in her journal, and Robin Williams comes up and he's like whispering in her ear, and he's like, "Write it. Write the name, don't forget me." And she acts like she's possessed, and she's like, and she like writes it out. There's nothing like that in the movie ever again, but it's like this weird poltergeist moment where it's as if he like is possessing her to write. And I thought that was so weird because it just felt out of place in the movie, because it felt like a ghost movie more than it did.
Well, no, it happened. Well, I agree, that was kind of weird. But it happened like 2 minutes later when at the gravesite, when he tries to hug her and she freaks out. So it was another ghost thing where she sensed him or sensed the ghost.
He also touched her lips and she went,
she's remembered that.
Just like his sons. Anyway.
that
went. Sorry, cut that one out.
I have one more nitpick. I think it was kind of weird. I know, I'm just eating pizza. Anyway, I was just going to say, it was kind of weird. I assume he's a children's doctor, right? Or maybe he's just a doctor. Yeah, so
he must be.
Why does he have a painting with a totally nude dude on the wall at a children's hospital?
Because she drew the whiz, yeah.
Come on now.
You can see the dick.
It's classic art.
Yes, it's classic. It's 13th century.
You're right. It is a weird thing if it's a children's hospital, but for all we know, he could be a pediatrician. Is that what they're called? In a bigger hospital, and that could just be one area of the hospital that he found the girl in. But I do agree that is unusual. If it's a children's hospital, it's really weird just to have like.
I assume his wife painted it. That's what I assume, but still, yeah.
That bitch had to get her claws on every wall space around this man. No, I will.
Soulmates.
I'll stop. I will stop with the. I'll stop with the nitpicks.
Did you have any more?
I already got the people in hell just randomly stop when they hug. Too vague, but weird editing, slow mo. Oh, this is a cherry pick, but I have to say, when Robin Williams jumps off the cliff, it is one of the. Don't even shake your head. It's one of the better stunts I've seen of someone doing that, because usually it would either be a really bad effect where he's on a floor doing on a green screen going whoa and he's falling, or it would just be like a rag doll or something. But the fact that it looked like they got a guy, like a stunt person, to actually jump off the cliff and like really had him like waving his arms down, and they had a lot of good footage of it. I thought it was a really cool stunt. Like, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say to that is I think they just took footage from Hook. Maybe that's what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't. The premise was horrible. You can't fly, and he was like, "Oh, I thought it was
like
bad."
Matrix kind of.
Yeah, it looked, I thought to me it looked
Now
bad.
that I'm thinking about it, Sterling, you're kind of right about the Matrix because there was a lot of sequences there where he kind of is like Morpheus trying to expand your mind. That's not pain, it's coffee.
This came out
Yeah,
before Matrix, so Matrix stole it from this movie then.
Man, all this shit, Naruto, Matrix, everyone's stealing from this movie. It is
well,
well. I did like
okay.
see there was a couple of good little jokes when he's drinking the coffee and he goes, "It needs more milk," and Cuba Gooding Jr. is like, "Don't push your luck."
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say it was inspired by the Odyssey for sure. I think that was the biggest
what
influence, in
what
my
movie's
opinion.
this?
It's a
It's a book.
book.
It's an old Greek tragedy
Oh, a
book.
book. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well,
That's
and
all
I
right.
wonder when
Yeah.
the What Dreams May Come book came out either too, because I wonder if they adapted it. Nowadays they adapt the book into a movie like as soon as it hits the bestsellers
What?
list. But I wonder
Yeah.
how
As
old.
soon as it get big.
I wonder how if it was an older book, you know. But
Yeah.
should we wrap it up? Wrap it down and.
Oh, now you want to wrap it up? You schmuck. Anyway,
I'll
I'll start.
start out. Oh, okay, Trey. Go.
Oh, you want to? Oh,
He's
Sterling,
gonna
you
grab
go.
another piece of pizza. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Hang on, it's empty.
Here, I'll
It's empty.
close it up. My pick. I'll
And
close
this
it up.
episode is sponsored by Little Caesars.
Matt, if you want to go, I'll
Pizza.
eat.
Okay, I can go. Trey, don't be too hard on yourself because this is a movie. Since I heard about it, like I said, maybe a few months ago, I've been wanting to watch because it's one of those movies where I'm like, this just sounds so bizarre that I need to watch it. And even Christy said it's worth a watch. It is worth watching because it's a weird movie, and it's one of those movies where like the first half of it, the first I'd say at least half hour, maybe hour of it, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I like this. I was getting bored. I don't know. By the end of it, I thought they wrapped up enough of the narrative elements, especially I think the core of this movie that works, and it is the core of the movie, the intention of the movie is the relationship between Robin and his wife. I think it is sweet, and I think that it is cool. And I think the way they deal with those things in what feels like a more realistic way, like it gets pretty sophisticated into like, he thought he was being really strong, but at the same time, she was devastated by this thing, and she didn't feel like maybe he was with her. And then the kind of has that great moment in the end where you kind of realize like he doesn't need to give up on her. He needs to give up with her. And it's either here nor there a little bit on like how that goes. And I don't even know if I liked it exactly the way it wrapped up, but overall their relationship is what kept me interested in the movie. I think Robin Williams did as good as he could with the dialogue, being a little messy at times. And yeah, it's a weird movie. I think the editing is probably its biggest tragedy. I hope that guy stays in Vermont. And I wish I will make it my destiny one day in the future. If Film Schmucks ever gets big, I will see if I can obtain the rights to this movie, get the original footage, and re-edit it myself to see if I can make it a better film. And anyway, I think it's worth watching. I would say check it out. Sterling?
Fuck you, Trey, for making me watch this piece of shit. No. I'm kidding. I said at the beginning, I thought this movie was okay. Definitely mediocre, a mixed bag, but it was worth watching for Robin Williams' performance. And there was something kind of meta about watching this movie because, again, he tragically killed himself, and this movie dealt a lot with suicide, and that kind of made me appreciative of Robin Williams' career a lot more, but also like just sad overall of like what actually happened to him. And so I definitely think it was worthwhile watching it, one time. And yeah, I think it could definitely be one of the. I think it's one of the few examples that could have a modern remake. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that take. I mean, for sure, it in hindsight, it definitely his. I mean, there's several projects and movies that he's done that kind of is close to that. Like Patch Adams has a little bit of that for Suicide. I mean, with Ben Affleck, he just did a movie recently about being an alcoholic, and he knows exactly how that is in his life. So a lot of celebrities aren't prone to having problems like the rest of us schmucks. I mean, like a Dane Cook joke. He's like, Holly Berry's holding her, is on the toilet. Ooh, get out of me! Satan, get out of me! Having a hard shit, just like the rest of us. It's a Dane Cook joke. Like they have their own, they have issues just like us. And I mean, man, what a brilliant man! I mean, the amount of work we got from him, and even I forgot how old he was, 65, 64. I don't know how old he was, but he had so much work. I mean, compared to Norm Macdonald, who just passed away, what a brilliant comedian he is. And we don't have as much work with him because he wasn't in the limelight like Robin or any other famous actors today. So when actors and whoever they are die so young, you kind of want to cherish their work. And I was just looking at another movie. I mean, the 90s was pure Robin. I mean, 1999, the year later, he did a movie we may do called Bicentennial Man, which is, if you've seen it, have you seen it, Matt?
I have. I haven't watched it since I was a kid, and we saw it when we were looking up this movie on the list, and Christy has been talking about wanting to watch that, so.
Yep. We'll do that soon.
Maybe.
Yeah, there we go. That'll be her pick. Yeah, I mean, it's a very emotional movie. That one's really about. That could be a modern remake too because of its material, and the what could happen in the future with AI. But that's another conversation. But anyway, back to Robin in this movie. I mean, it should have been better than it was. I mean, I know they pushed the boundaries of technology. This when Star Wars came out, the prequels, and they're pushing the boundaries, but. It didn't age well, and I know Sterling and Matt. Thank you for not crapping on me like I do with Sterling sometimes for his picks, but I still want to apologize because I remember this movie fondly because I watched it like 15 years ago, and because I really like Robin, and you think about a lot of the material in it, and I'm disappointed, but. Hey, like Sterling said, just another movie to watch Robin. It's worth it for one viewing for Robin, and especially because he's passed, to see his work, because he has so much we can look back on. Because you guys were talking about Dead Poet Society, and then Bicentennial Man. I mean, there's a lot of movies. I mean, we have another 18 years to wait to see the rest of his Aladdin material. Because of his will. So, I mean, he has material we've never seen. So. Good on him. Love the guy, and decent movie. It's okay. It's an okay movie. I probably liked it the least of the three of us, but worth it because of Robin.
Well, before we close up the final thing, if they did remake this movie, who would you want to play Robin Williams, and who would you want to play Albert? I'm gonna say, I would say. Honestly, I would say Jim Carrey and John Boyega.
So are you talking about Albert, his son? So his son, but pretending to be Albert?
So Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay, I would say either Robert Downey Jr. or what was the other one I was thinking of? Chris Evans would be a good one too. He's a really good actor. Chris Evans would be good.
And John Boyega. Yeah.
And what's the other guy? What's the other? You beat the John Boyega. Who's the guy from Ocean's 11 and who plays Rhodes from the Marvel movies? What's that guy's name?
Don Cheadle.
Yeah, I could see
Don
that.
Cheadle.
Wait, you wanted to replace Cuba Gooding Jr. again, you son of a bitch?
No, that was not Cuba Jr. That was not Cuba Jr. for the
Terrence Howard.
Marvel.
Oh, Terrence
What'd you
Howard.
say?
I get those two confused a little bit. I don't know why.
You right. You son of a gun.
Hey, I'm not as bad as the son doing blackface in heaven. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, then Robert Downey Jr. would be perfect because of Tropic Thunder.
Exactly.
He can play cool parts.
Yes. We need him to do it again. Come on.
Jamie Foxx was okay with it. Jamie Foxx was okay with it.
Hey, speaking of it, let's have a little the pianist reunion. Let's get Jamie Foxx and Downey Jr.
And due date, because they were both in that one too. I love due date.
Yeah.
We're off the rails again. Sterling, who are your two? I have Don Cheadle and Chris Evans. Those are I'm my official picks.
And I said Jim Carrey and John Boyega.
I don't know why you jumped Boyega, but whatever.
Best part of the Star Wars franchise.
I probably do Steve Carell. I would definitely see what he could do.
Shit. Okay.
Little golf clap?
Yeah. And then I think Jamie Foxx. I think he would be great in that role.
You straight up stole it. You stole it, but we'll forgive you because Steve Carell was a great pick. All right.
No. I just think their dynamic would work, and Jamie Foxx has a really good experience with comedy. So I just
except that it's not a comedy movie.
Those picks, Jim Carrey and Steve Carell, any of those two would be amazing. I mean, I would probably lean towards Matt's pick because of how close they are in comedic genius.
Well, I was also thinking he's a little older in this movie, Robin Williams.
He's older now,
he feels older, like, I don't know why, but he felt a little older, and that's why I was going towards more older. But then again, all the guys we named are older, so.
Steve Carell would be great.
Carell,
he's a great actor.
I could really see him do that.
Yeah.
All right, you want to close this out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. So I know, disappointing week, whatever. It was I love this. There's a lot more to talk about than I thought, because I was watching. I was like, these guys they're gonna trash the hell out of me this week, like right off the bat. But it was mainly me trashing myself. But hey, I'm good at that. It's my best attribute. Anyway, thank you for joining us. I mean, we'll have plenty of other Robin Williams movies in the future. But comment was this movie good? Did it age well? Comment below, subscribe, and join us next time on the Film Schmucks.
Cut it.